An alone gobbler is my friend. My goal is not to go out there as, I'm Cameron the turkey hunter. I'm a hen.
Be the turkey.
Yes, I want her.
That's my lady.
Yeah, correct.
Guest of honor for this episode is two-time owl hooting champion
Two-time.
of the Black Bear Bonanza,
Of the Black Bear Bonanza.
Mr. Camron Tidwell.
Yes.
You got it. You got it.
Man.
All right, glad to have you on.
Yeah, glad you guys came up. It's
Man,
nice to meet y'all.
Thanks for the invite. We're in your turkey room, so if you're watching on YouTube, then you get to see a really cool turkey wall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this angle right here. One of our finest angles we've ever done, Cameron. Thank you for being in it.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I hear that often.
Yeah. We can't not have the two-time champion of the Hoot Owl contest do a Hoot Owl on the podcast. And so this is your chance. If for anyone who wasn't at the Black Bear Bonanza and didn't get to hear you on stage doing your thing, do you want to give us kind of this is why you have gained the fame that you've gained over the last couple of years at the Bonanza?
Yeah, okay. So I'll just give you the condensed version of it. So
that is why you have won the championship 2 years in a row. Should have won 3 years in a row, maybe.
yeah, Brian Cobb, you barely got me.
You got him. But man, we're excited to talk with you. So let's start. Turkey season is upon us. We're coming into it, and we wanted to put out an episode for folks who, maybe they've been turkey hunting for years and they haven't had a whole lot of success, or maybe they have and they just want to learn something, or maybe it's their very first time turkey hunting in the Ozarks. Talk me through one, just kind of what it is you love about turkey hunting and why it is so fun and engaging for anyone who's like, I just don't get it. I've deer hunted before. I've done these other things. I fish. What is it for you about turkey hunting that you just think makes it so exciting?
So turkey hunting, so deer hunting, you're sitting there. Most of the time you're letting it happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're waiting on a deer, or, you go set up in a pinch point or something. But like with the turkey, its biggest weakness is its gobble. And it tells you what it's doing, So, and you can manipulate them with a call. So, you can have, it sounds weird, but a conversation with the turkey, basically. But the biggest thing is whenever you hear that turkey gobble, it gives you an idea of how to get around to them. Or, for example, a turkey's gobble tells you what kind of mood they're in. So if I hear a turkey gobbling every once in a while and it's down in the bottom, I'm like, that turkey probably has hens. It might not be ready yet. You could wait. A week later, he might be gobbling his head off. And it's like, okay, he's more ready. If I hear a turkey on a knob, like on a ridge top, just carrying the mail, that turkey is alone and he's ready to go. You know what I mean? So just that interaction, the ability to make it happen, that's what I love about turkey hunting.
Yeah. For you growing up, like what got you into turkey hunting? I know we had talked and you said you had some mentors that were a big part of getting into it. How long have you been doing it, and who first got you into it?
So my whole life, I've hunted, and I've lucky enough to live, where I grew up pretty much. And my grandpa, he introduced me to hunting, me and my cousin Tanner, my best friend, and we grew up hunting together. And anyway, our grandpa introduced us, he's a big bow hunter. His son, my uncle, man, turkey hunting was his thing. And the way he described it to me one time was, so like my brother, for example, like he loves to hunt too, but he also likes to play sports and do other things. And the way my uncle described it, he was like, I tried to introduce all of you guys to the outdoors. He was like, but you and Tanner jumped off the cliff. So it's like, because we got so immersed in it, I just wanted to learn everything that he had to say. And I mean, the two of us just following him around, that's really who taught us how to turkey hunt. I mean, my grandpa introduced us. I mean, my mom, whenever I was younger, she told my grandpa one time, she was like, "Do you see what you created?" But like my uncle, as far as the turkey hunting and that being like my cousin Tanner's passion, I mean, he really refined that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so you've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, so it took me like 4 years before I killed my first turkey, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't kill my first turkey till I was 14, I mean, and I started hunting at 10 because around here where I grew up, I was too young to travel or whatever, and we didn't have turkeys here, like, my whole life up until recently,
Mm-hmm.
really, when they've started to come back, but so anyway, my uncle moved to a place where there was quite a few turkeys, north of here, about 2 hours, and that's pretty much where we cut our teeth, just you know, hunting and learning from them, and that brings us to the patience thing, and learning other things. So like we always knew, you roost turkeys. So this is a funny story. So me and Tanner, I was a freshman in college, and he was a senior in high school, and we were driving down this road and it was right before dark, and we saw all these we thought were turkeys in this tree. And so we were like, man, we're gonna go set up a blind. And I wanted to kill a turkey with my bow. I was like, I want to kill a turkey with my bow. So we set up a blind, and my uncle was like, are you sure those are turkeys? And we're like, yeah, that's turkeys, 100%. The next morning it was turkey buzzards. But down the creek a ways, just so happened, turkey started gobbling, and we called in these two turkeys, and I killed one with my bow.
All right.
And so, we're happy, high fiving. Well, it's still early in the day. And so we were like, well, let's go try to get Tanner one. And so back whenever we grew up, on this, so it was a dairy farm. So like you could sit up in a blind and, you could shoot a turkey that way. And I don't really do that ever anymore. But I mean, we were young. And anyway, if we were like, we know there's turkeys over here, we're just going to go set up. It's middle of the day. Nothing's really happened. This is like the first weekend of season. And they're still pretty henned up. So we go and we go to this blind, and we fall asleep for like hours. And I wake up because I hear a turkey gobble, and I hit Tanner. I'm like, did you hear that? And actually, you could see in the decoys where something had walked right through, like the grass. I'm like, that was probably this turkey. Well, anyway, we start calling, and this turkey behind us starts just gobbling. I've never heard a turkey gobble this much. Every breath, just bow, 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 bow. And it's like 12:45 in Missouri. You got to stop at 1. And Tanner was like, no, we just need to sit here and call. I said, Tanner, I was like, it's 12:45. Let's go kill this turkey. So I finally convinced him. So we get out of the blind, and we start slipping through the woods, and there's a little rise, and there's actually an old cow trail that we walked on. It was real quiet. And so we're like slipping through there, and turkey's just pow, pow. And you can hear this yip, 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 yip. This bald eagle is dive bombing this turkey and just keeping him gobbling.
Oh,
And
no
so
way.
Tanner crawled all the way up, and he ended up killing the turkey, and we doubled that day.
No way.
Yeah, I call that the buzzards, the bow, and the bald eagle. Yeah,
Could
but
be.
find somebody that you can go with, that you trust. I mean, I've messed him up, he's messed me up. It's no big deal. We'll be all right.
You learn from it,
Yep.
figure it out.
You learn from it, figure it out, and I don't know, just the last few years, especially the last 5 years, I mean, we've just been very successful most of the places that we've went together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, it's a great point to having somebody to bounce ideas off of, and having a good hunting buddy to strategize and think through, like, hey, this is what I did and I messed up, or they're right there with you talking you through, like, dude, you shouldn't have done that, or maybe we should have done this, and thinking it through, or overthinking it sometimes.
Yeah.
We've already got 2 really good tactics, I think, in our list of how to kill turkeys in the Ozarks. One, you said is the most important, a good hunting partner.
Yeah.
Good hunting partners is valuable for their intel, the partnership, even the setup, if somebody's calling behind you, bringing them in, all that kind of stuff.
Hearing stuff that you can't hear.
Hearing stuff you can't hear. But then also tactic number 2, and it may not be, it's probably not a perfect list of what's the best or most important, but if you're calling to it and you strike one up, don't quit. Like,
Right.
keep calling the bird.
Right.
And that makes me think of Brad Harris and the buck calling. We interviewed the guys, the inventor of the buck grunt, and so he was telling us in deer calling, it's like casting a line, and you don't just grunt and then stop and not do it again for 40 minutes. If you're going to do a calling sequence, and especially if you have a deer, coming into you, you don't quit. Like, you keep doing it. You keep bringing the deer in, and then until your shot opens up. And so, I don't know. I thought of that story for just a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get them
Keeping the
talking.
pressure on 'em.
Yeah,
Keep the pressure.
it's more realistic.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Whenever I go turkey hunting, my goal is not to go out there as I'm Cameron the turkey hunter. I'm a hen.
Mm.
I want to paint a picture.
Be the turkey.
Yes. I want to paint a picture that says, that gobbler's like, I want her.
Yeah. That's my lady.
Yeah, correct.
Let's go back to, okay, turkey season's coming up. And I want to kind of just walk through as we approach turkey season and as you go through a hunt and kind of plan and prepare for a hunt. And so, I know a lot of turkey hunting comes down to how much did you put time in the woods on the front end and scouting to find the birds. Because back to what you were saying when we first started was you can't kill a bird if you don't know where the turkeys are. So how do you go about scouting? What are kind of some of your general philosophies on scouting?
Right. Look at maps, look at terrain features that I know are familiar. And then pretty much just you got to go in there, So go in there, look for sign, listen for gobbles. I think a lot of people don't go in and listen before season enough. They're just, if you want to kill a turkey, I mean, when they got, like I said, a turkey's biggest weakness is their gobble.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to kill turkeys and they're gobbling, you say, hey, check. I can mark. So, like, by the time season gets here, like what my uncle taught me, he's like, if I can have 10, 15, 20 turkeys found, man, I'm way ahead of the game.
Yeah, you are.
So then opening day gets here, and you're like, all right, I'm looking at how can I get in there? Is there going to be a lot of hunting pressure? Am I familiar with the spot? Like that one spot I found, it's got all three of those things. I'm like, yeah, basically those three things.
Mm-hmm.
What's it look like? How many turkeys are there? Have I been there before?
Yeah.
And then you can narrow down where you want to go. And if you have multiple different turkeys, and it also depends on, how your schedule looks or whatever. Like for the average person, what's your schedule look like?
Mm-hmm.
If you have turkeys found close to the house and you don't think they're going to get messed with,
Hunt those turkeys.
hunt those turkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's go get them.
Yeah. When you go scouting and you're going to find those, is there a certain time of day you go? I mean, I would assume if you're wanting to hear goblin, you want to go in
Daybreak.
the morning.
Yep.
And so
daybreak.
you're
Yep.
going just like you would be going hunting, right?
Just like I'm going hunting. You don't have to do it quite as early because whenever I go hunting, I want to be, where if that turkey starts gobbling or if I know where one's at, I want to be as close to him as possible,
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the setup, like your success rate is going to go up if people talk about roosting turkeys and they're like, yeah, I can hear them over here. But really roosting turkeys, like you see the limb the turkey's on, if you know what tree the turkey's in, man, your success rate is going to go way up.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, he's going to fly down somewhere right there.
Oh yeah. Can't go too far.
Right.
And if you do find a roosting tree before season, is it pretty well reliable that they're going to be roosting in that tree by the time season comes?
Depends on how close to season it is.
Mm.
Like right now, I mean, still got lots of hens by them. Turkeys are just gonna follow the hens. That's the whole spring season. The gobblers are trying to breed hens. So if you find hens, you're typically gonna find a gobbler. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're just following the hens. My favorite week to hunt is actually the first week of May because most of the hens are nesting. So whenever you do find a turkey, a lot of times he's alone.
Mm-hmm.
And an alone gobbler is my friend.
He's vulnerable.
He is vulnerable. Yes. Yep. It don't matter if you don't sound the best or whatever. If he thinks there's a chance that a hen is there, you're more likely to get him if he's by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Unless also another important thing, where you call to him is important. If a turkey hears the same thing every day from the same spot, say it's a really high pressured place, and someone's calling from a road every day, they're probably not going to be like, yeah, that's a hen.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to get around to a different angle is important too. That's more real.
Mhm.
That's more convincing. convincing a turkey is the most important part of killing them. As if you're wanting to call one in.
Mhm.
Yeah, when that turkey is convinced and their head is brilliant, red, white, and blue, completely convinced, relaxed, snoods down, you're more likely to kill the turkey.
Right. So you've scouted, you've now found an area where you know there's some birds. If you've done the time, done the work and put in the time to maybe have a couple different spots that you can hunt depending on, okay, well, this one's on public, but, I'm not going to hunt that maybe on Saturday because I know it's going to be pressured a lot and they're going to be pushing birds. So I'm going to try this other spot today. That gives you a lot of options to kind of play with your schedule, back to what
Right.
you were saying. From there, how would you pick apart a spot of like, okay, I know there's some birds in this area, this general area. I've seen some sign, maybe I've heard some gobbles, but I don't necessarily know where they're roosted at.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, sticking with them. If you hear a turkey gobbling, in the dark, and you're like, okay, there's a turkey over there. Number one, it depends on where you're at. Also, I mean, if you're in the Ozark National Forest, for instance, I mean that's a huge area, and you don't hear a lot of turkeys, and you hear one turkey in there gobbling. Let's get over closer to that turkey,
Mhm.
okay? If you're in a place like I've hunted in the past before, I mean I've hunted some amazing places, and I mean if you're hearing multiple turkeys gobble, that's one of the things I do. It's like I don't just immediately go to the first turkey I hear. I try to listen. I hear where they are. If a turkey's in a place when I'm looking at the map and I'm like, okay, I can get above that turkey, or I think that that turkey's going to fly into this creek bottom, I can get around and pick that one. I mean, one time I'll never forget it. One time I was with my uncle and we went back deep in this public place, and he was letting me do he's like, you pick. And where we went, there was a turkey roosted on the private, and there was a turkey roosted on, well, there was like four turkeys roosted on the private and one turkey roosted on the public. But I mean, they were on the line, like right there. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I mean, these turkeys are like 80 yards from us. Like, let's sit down right here.
Right on the
Well,
line.
well, what did those turkeys do? They messed around all up in there, never came around. This one gobbled a few times, ended up on a knob and kept gobbling, and I ended up messing it up. But if we would have just started with that one,
Mhm.
I probably would have been more likely to kill the turkey. See what I'm saying? Like, you got to weigh your options
Mhm.
whenever you're dealing with multiple turkeys,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and for the guys in the Ozarks who they may be hearing one bird. I like what you're saying about, figure out where it is and then get to it. There's
Yep.
no sense in just sitting 300 yards away hoping he's going to come in from a faint gobble. It's like, go look for the bird.
And if you're
make a move on
if
him.
you're hearing if you're dealing with one turkey and you're hearing him gobble from the same spot multiple days in a row, what are you doing standing there listening to him? Go get where that turkey's gobbling. Get over to that spot
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
because that's where he's at. That's where he likes to be. If you're where the turkey wants to be, there, when there's lead in there, there's hope.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're more likely to. I mean, even if you miss him or whatever, at least you are in the ball game.
Right.
I think that's important.
Yeah, no, it is. A lot of the being in the ball game, like you said, is having some confidence, knowing that you have a shot, and then even too, like some of my favorite times being in the turkey woods is just seeing turkeys. Like at the end of the day, yeah, we all want to have success and kill a turkey, right? But even just going out there and getting to see them work and just do their thing and be in the woods, it's a wild creature.
Mhm.
You're like, you see that thing, you're like, no way, that's real. Like, what is that thing?
As we know, who live in the Ozarks here, especially those of you who live in Arkansas, I mean, it's a very fragile resource.
Mhm.
It's important to take care of it. It's important to cherish those times you have to hunt them
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, like back in the 90s, I guess my grandpa who used to hunt in Arkansas, he's like, there's turkeys everywhere.
Mhm.
Now it's like, there's no turkeys here.
Yeah.
That's why like here on our place, it's really neat that, with trapping and burning and timber thinning,
Go into that a little bit because I know I
Mm.
cut you off there, but I get excited about hearing that because we obviously talk a lot about land management and how people can
Yeah.
enhance their property. And you were talking about you grew up out here. Your family has lived on this land for a long time, and growing up, there weren't a whole lot of turkeys out here,
Mm-mm.
if any. But over the last couple of years, you guys have done a lot of work, and you're starting to see turkeys return in a state where, we know turkeys, things are not looking good for turkeys. Their populations are declining. Go
Right.
through a little bit of the things that you guys have done and now what you're seeing because of it.
So, I mean, my whole life we've planted food plots, in the bottom, you know. But what really took it to the next level is we started looking at, okay, why aren't we having turkeys here? There's a predator problem. Started trapping. And I started trapping really hard. And whenever I started trapping really hard, lo and behold, it was like, hey, like, there's a turkey. Like, oh my gosh, like we're starting to see turkeys down here. I don't know what it is about burning, but it's like it attracts. It's weird, and I don't know where the turkeys came from. But like, I've got neighbors. My neighbor Chris, he's like, this is the most turkeys I've ever seen in 15 years around here.
Mhm.
And he's a big coon hunter. A turkey hunter's best friend is a coon hunter, man. I mean, and kill all those
Y'all
raccoons.
make great neighbors.
Yeah. So anyway, started trapping really hard, planting food plots, and what you're planting is important. You know, most people around here, it's like clover, clover, clover. You hear people that plant
Right.
soybeans, plant stuff like milo, millet, stuff like that, stuff that birds can peck around in. Turkeys like stuff like that. Well, anyway, we started incorporating some burning. Turkeys started showing up. And another important thing in this whole story is whenever we first started getting turkeys, it was like, I'm looking at trail camera pictures. It's like, there's two toms down there in the bottom. I didn't hunt them. I never went down there. I want there to be more turkeys. And this is probably 4 years ago. Last year, my grandpa stood on my parents' back porch and he said he could hear 6 different turkeys down the bottom on 400 acres.
That's awesome.
That's unheard of here.
Mhm.
Really. I mean, so anyway, yeah, I mean, just all the management tactics has really helped. I mean, I have literally seen from nothing
Mhm.
to turkeys. Like, I probably will try to shoot one this year
Yeah.
behind the house. Like, yeah, like I've never spring turkey hunted here really ever.
hmm
I've always just left them alone.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. I just get excited about that because it's like firsthand I'm talking to somebody who's like, I've done the things.
And it's working.
It works. Like what they say is real, the burning works, the trapping works, and some of that stuff you're like, I don't know, like it sounds like good in theory, but if you actually did it, would it really make a difference? And it undoubtedly, yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I hate it when people are like, "Oh, trapping, doesn't matter." I'm like, I think it does.
You're like, okay.
If there's, I mean, my cousin Tanner, he works for Quail Forever, Pheasant Forever. The number one killer of nests is a raccoon.
Mhm.
If you kill one raccoon, in my mind, I'm like, that's one possible nest that could be saved
Mhm.
is by killing that one raccoon. I mean, I've killed like 40 something raccoons and possums and skunks this year
Mhm.
off the place. I mean, I think that makes a big difference.
Oh, it's got to.
Yeah, if there's less predators, a turkey's going to want to nest down there in the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. No, it does.
So we've covered some scouting, have a buddy, keep calling to the bird. If you are able to manage your property, then manage your property.
Yeah.
But for the public land guys or the guys who are, they're going to the national forest or they're going to Mark Twain or whatever, and they're trying to figure it out, what falls next on your list of how to kill a turkey 101?
Something that's super important that for a long time I don't think it was really talked about. Know your gun.
Ooh, I like this one.
That's super important. I have multiple different guns I rotate. I've got a Mossberg Pro Turkey, got a Remington 1187. I've got 20 gauge. I actually got a little 410 I might mess around with this year down here in the bottom. But knowing how the gun shoots, that's super important. I mean, I remember back in the day, we'd just get a turkey load and just shoot it at a piece of paper and be like, there's like 5 pellets in it, we're good. Well, then when you start getting your backer and it's like, man, like most of that pattern is way up here.
Mhm.
That makes a big difference. Personally, I mean, you don't have to have a red dot. For the last 2 or 3 years, can't remember the last one I shot with a bead in the last 3 years. That red dot makes a big difference. You have a big field of view, dots in the middle. You can see the whole body of the turkey. Whenever you're just using the bead, you're covering up the whole body of the turkey. All you're seeing is a little bit of his head.
Mhm.
I just feel like your margin of error goes way down whenever you have a red dot on your gun. And you can pinpoint where the center of your pattern is. I mean, and I don't like to shoot turkeys far off, but it's nice to know what it does at 50 yards.
Yeah.
You know, in case you misjudge a turkey. I mean, when I go to Nebraska, it's like, man, I killed a turkey one time pretty far, and I was like, man, that was way farther. But I mean, it's a wide open field, you
Right.
know. But it's because I knew my gun shot tight, you know.
Yeah.
How far out do you pattern your gun?
50 typically.
About 50.
Yep,
And the red
50.
dot, that makes sense. I mean, if it's
Mhm.
iron sights and let's say you're dramatically high into the right, you just move your red dot to it.
Yep.
And so then you know you're on next
Gut-
time your dot's there.
Next time you shoot a shotgun, put something out at 50 yards and just look at your bead. You'll be like, man, that looks really far.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a red dot, it's like, oh, yeah, I could put it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Bang.
Yeah.
You know, it makes a huge difference,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Yep.
So know your gun.
Yeah.
Know your
That's
gun.
a good one. That's
That's-
one that I probably wouldn't have thought to put on the list.
No, that's good.
In my mind, you just grab your gun and you go.
No,
Um,
yep, no.
Well, I saw
there you
even
go.
as we were getting ready out here, I saw a bunch of cardboard
Oh,
out here, and you
yeah.
were doing some patterning out here.
Yeah.
What's your pattern process? I know you said you pattern out to 50, but do you kind of have a process that goes into it?
Yeah, so like for sighting in a red dot, like I'll start close with a dove load or whatever.
Yeah.
Cut out the bottom of a dot because typically your turkey loads are going to shoot higher,
Mm.
and then take it out to about. I like to do it like 32 yards. A lot of people say 40, but you know I think at 32 yards you get a better idea of your pattern most of the time. Then basically just bullseye a bullet hole. If you're shooting down here, you know, and you're aiming here, put it in a vise, put your dot here, move the dot down to the center of the pattern,
Yeah.
and should be good to go.
Yeah.
Another tip I would say is the soft calling kills turkeys, especially in the Ozarks. Whenever you get in the ridges,
Okay.
you get on top of them, being able to, you know, just sound like a content hen. I think that, you know, most people, they walk through the woods just pop, 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 pop. They're wanting to strike a turkey. If you want to kill a turkey and he's let you know where he's at, just give him those little bubble clucks, purring, scratching the leaves. I think that a lot of turkeys I've killed in the last few years, when I think about it, it's like, yeah, like that's what killed the turkey.
Mhm.
Is, you know, doing that soft stuff. You know, I think that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to killing one,
So you've got a couple of mouth calls over here.
right?
Do you mind demonstrating for the listener what would be maybe an aggressive call if you're looking for a strike, but then more importantly, a soft call that's gonna work to get that gobbler to come in?
So whenever I'm hunting and I'm in a place and I haven't heard a turkey gobble, say it's the middle of the day, just, you know, patrolling or whatever you want to call it, I always start light, like. And then, you know, if one answers you when you're doing that soft stuff, you know, you're not blowing them off the mountain, you know. I mean, if you just come in just and he's 40 yards from you,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, what's her problem? You know, like, I don't know. You know, they might have been with a few Betsy's, so I don't know, you know, but I don't know, that soft
Mhm.
calling. But like, so typically whenever I'm walking through the woods, I'll start with that soft stuff, and then I'll just, you know, just walking, trying to strike a turkey, just. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's an example.
Yeah.
Another thing a lot of people don't use, I utilize it a lot, is a kiki run. One thing a lot of people don't use, you know, or utilize very often is a kiki run. A kiki run, like that's like the first noise that a turkey can make. It's like that high pitch. And I know you can't shoot jakes in Arkansas, but someone who's hunting in Missouri and you just want to shoot a turkey, you can call in a flock of jakes
Mhm.
by just. I mean, that really will draw me. And sometimes, whenever you're dealing with a group of jakes that's with a tom, that curiosity factor will draw
pulls
them
them all
too. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you're in the big woods, that soft call, I mean, it sounds like it's not going to do anything to me. If I'm being honest, like I'm also admittedly not a great turkey hunter, but it's
I didn't say I was a great turkey hunter. I
kill
just
a lot
go
of birds. The I don't know. Talk me through the mindset, or even what you're thinking is maybe you hear one that's far away, or maybe you are closing in. Uh, the desire to go quiet and soft versus like I want to make sure the sound's going to reach that bird.
Well, so basically that's what I was saying. Like whenever you're in like hills and you're not seeing over it, if you're doing that soft stuff and they can hear that, and a turkey can hear a lot farther than we think they can.
Mhm.
I mean that's just fact.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean if you're doing that soft, content stuff, and I mean that interests him because like you said, it's like I mean what's that sound? It's like nothing.
Yeah.
You
Sounds
know?
like nothing right
No,
here.
but really, if he's alone and he's like, "There's a hen over there,"
Mhm.
that'll provoke him to gobble. Another thing, whenever you're doing that soft stuff like that, you'll be doing that. All of a sudden, you just hear, mm,
Mhm.
and if you train your ear to it, you can hear that quite a ways off. You know, Tanner can hear it really far. I've got to be 100 yards is like max. But
Right.
that
You can
makes a
still hear it at
difference, too.
100 yards. That
Mhm.
drum, the spitting
Mhm.
drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's on a really calm day. and,
Wow.
yeah, you can hear it
That's
really loud.
That's one of the things that the more experienced turkey hunters that we've talked to, they always talk about the spit in the drum.
Mm.
Whereas I think a lot of even like my first couple of years of turkey hunting, I didn't even know that turkeys made that noise, and it wasn't until somebody pointed that out to me because you can sit there and it be going on and you just not pick up on it. You don't
Mhm.
even know to associate that with a turkey. But then to know that, oh, that's a tom and he's working his way towards me, and now I can play the game a little bit differently.
Yeah, a spit and drum is the same thing as turkey gobbling.
Yeah.
I mean they're talking to the hen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like it's weird whenever you're and like people who turkey hunt a lot, it's almost like you could feel that drumming. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
this.
like an acoustic.
Yeah, it's like this
feeling.
acoustic vibration whenever you're close to one. I mean, a turkey I killed last year in Missouri. I mean, like it was actually in a fresh burn on a conservation area, and I just like really loud, and we were like, "Sit down."
There he is.
Yeah, like sat down, and Tanner, he was supposed to shoot first, and he like got set up at this little tree, and I was calling for him. Well, the turkey did a big loop and just came to me, and then I shot it. But
Yeah.
I mean, that drumming is really important. If you can, I mean, you can go on YouTube and look up, what a turkey drum sounds like.
You can. But even with that, you have to sometimes have good headphones
Really good
on.
headphones, yeah.
Because even like if you're just playing it off your phone, you won't even hear it.
Yeah. Yep, I know.
So you gotta
Sometimes.
make sure you got like a good headset on so you can pick up on that. And then next time you're in the turkey woods,
Mhm.
you'll probably, I mean, there's a good chance you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought that was a turkey.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's pretty distinct.
Yeah.
Like especially that spit. Like you can hear that. I'm sure whenever you're talking about your videos,
Yeah.
you can probably hear that,
Right.
and not the drum part.
Right.
I can
Yeah.
remember telling my dad whenever I started getting into turkey hunting how much I was enjoying it coming from a bear hunting and deer hunting and fishing background. And I think the word that I used at the time was a few years ago was like it was just immersive. Like it felt immersive. And what I was trying to put language to is what you were saying about even feeling it acoustically.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about being so aware of the entirety of your surroundings and hearing the tiniest little chirp or cluck. And we ran into a hen 2 years ago with
Yeah.
you're just walking through the woods. I don't hear any gobbles, then you hear that one little like,
Yeah.
oh,
Mhm.
bird.
What
There's
was
a bird.
that? Yeah.
And maybe if there's a hen, there's a tom. But I don't know, like that in itself, even if you don't kill turkeys,
Mhm.
makes turkey hunting for me personally really, really
Oh
fun.
yeah.
So
I
much
mean,
fun. It's interactive.
I know you guys like to fish.
Yeah.
That fish ain't making no sound.
Yeah.
What's fun about that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just tugging on the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's a fun time, and it's just a different style of hunt. Like
Mhm.
you're not sitting in a tree for 6 hours in the cold, shaking like a leaf, which is very fun in itself. But it's just something to kind of switch up the season and do something different.
Right. Now, I mean, I have turkey hunted where I have shook like a leaf before. I mean, it gets cold sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of one other thing, I guess. So like the turkey's cycle is based on like the length of day, Weather is also super important.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people though, personally, if you're hunting pressured public land and you got a day that's cold or rainy, it's worth making a trip out there because what's everyone else gonna do?
Not
I ain't
go.
gonna go mess around out there.
Mhm.
that's another opportunity for you to be out there because you can't kill them if you're not out there.
Hmm.
Yep.
What about people who would say cold and rainy, those birds are going to stay roosted in the tree? Is there any validity to that, or
Yeah.
how do you play the weather when it comes? So you're saying play the weather when it comes to okay, there's going to be less pressure on a day like that on public, but when it comes to actual weather conditions, how do you factor in how you're going to strategize your hunt?
I mean, if turkey stays in the tree up on in the day, whenever, obviously you can't get super close to him because you're gonna be able to see you. But I mean, I don't really ever think of that as much of a factor. Basically, if it's a little bit of mystery, I mean, turkeys during this time of year, just like deer. I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. I mean, whenever it's hot in November, deer, what are they doing? They're rutting at night. Well, a turkey's doing everything during the day, no matter
Mm.
what the weather's doing. They're gonna do their thing. So my biggest advice is just get out there. If a turkey, you think, man, that thing staying in the tree forever, stay in the woods longer. I mean, that's the only way I know how to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got to eat and they want to mate.
Yeah,
Makes
basically.
sense.
Yep.
So are you saying even in a just outright downpour, they're going to get down and still do their thing?
Oh, if it's an outright downpour, you need to find that most of the time they'll go to like a field and just sit. I mean, when I went to the Northeast last year, it was miserable, rained, and the first turkey I killed, I mean, if its ghost could have talked to me, it would have thanked me for taking its life. I mean, it was just miserable. But they're still gonna do their thing. They're gonna fly down. They're gonna get in fields.
Mhm.
That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna peck around for the worms that are coming up out of the dirt.
Yeah.
They're gonna do their thing. But
Yeah.
it's not as fun to hunt. But you can still kill them.
Yeah.
When it's raining, guess what? They can't do. They can't hear as well.
Right.
They can't see as well. You can use the terrain, find out where they're going. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And a wet turkey, there's nothing uglier than a wet turkey.
I do agree. Yeah, my favorite bird. Man, they're pretty whenever they're dry. But
Yeah.
yeah, whenever they're wet, they're pretty bad looking, I guess.
Almost unrecognizable. Yeah.
In the Ozark woods, all the hills and hollers, steep terrain, up and down. Sounds do weird things.
Mhm.
How far do you think you can hear a tom just hammering away?
Are the leaves on or the leaves off?
It's opening. It's opening day.
If
Leaves are coming on. Some of the leaves are already on.
A good halfway answer.
Yeah, good halfway answer.
Yeah.
They're coming on.
It's
But-
the
yeah,
it's the middle ground.
both.
Always both. Half the
So-
trees have leaves, half don't.
So if you
How's
have
that?
okay, well, so
What's
I'll
the
just
range?
I'll just put it to you like how it typically is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a late spring, which is not the case this year, if it's a late spring, and there's nothing on the trees, you can hear one a long way off. I mean, a mile in some cases, in my opinion. I mean, if
Wow.
you're high,
Yeah.
like I'm just thinking of places I've been where it's like, you can catch the back end of a gobble. I don't know how many turkeys I've got on just by hearing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Way
It's
out
like,
there.
and sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, but if you're high, it's like, but if the leaves are on, man, I mean, I've freaking been like, man, that turkey's like 200 yards away and stood up and the turkey be like, fly off, I mean,
Wow.
it plays,
Yeah.
it plays such a, I don't know, it's a weird acoustic,
Yeah,
with the leaves on,
it is.
So whenever it comes to that part of it, I'm always like, the turkey's closer than I think he is.
Yeah, it's like
Whenever
start hunting.
Whenever the leaves are on fully, yes.
Okay.
First week of May, my favorite time of year. Whenever you hear turkey gobbling, by itself, try to get as close as you think you can, if that makes sense. But just know, it could be closer than you think.
That's a good way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you tools you never head to the turkey woods without.
Okay, tools I never head to the turkey woods without. Headlight, important piece of advice. If you have a headlight that, you can open and you can get the batteries, turn one of the batteries the other way, close it back. That way you never run out of light. It's a very important tip that my uncle taught me.
Okay.
So headlight, I always take like clippers with me. Okay. Toilet paper. That's very important whenever you're
TP.
whenever out there. And I normally carry, 4 or 5 shells. And yeah, one pot call and mostly just mouth yelpers.
Okay.
Yep.
So you will still take a pot call.
Yes, I'll take a pot call, but mostly it's just easier, hands free.
I was going to ask because you're pretty good to the point where you can pretty much do anything on a diaphragm. But what scenario will you use a pot call over a diaphragm call?
I use friction calls all the time.
You do? Okay.
Yep. So it's I don't know. It just whenever you're in the woods and you hear like a really good pot call, it just sounds like a turkey.
Mhm.
So and like I said, I mean that's my whole thing. It's like
You want to sound like a hen?
I want to sound like a hen.
Mhm.
Yep. I want him to be fully enamored with me.
Mhm.
And come within 40 yards and find out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You ever find some morels while you're out there?
Oh yeah, I love morels.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I love morels. There. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had crappie, morels, and turkey breast in one meal.
Oh my gosh.
That's like the ultimate April smorgasbord.
Mhm.
amazing.
You know what I mean? One other thing I carry with me: water. Very important. If
Yeah.
you're gonna go hunting, I use a water bladder now, but water's super important.
Yeah.
You can stay out a lot longer when you have water.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
true.
have been out there just like parched, just like, man, this just sucks.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Bug spray?
Yeah, permethrin. I spray all my clothes with permethrin.
Okay.
And I mean, I can count on one hand the number of ticks I've pulled off me since using that stuff.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it works great.
Crow call?
No.
No, you're just
not
gonna
really.
hoot owl.
Yeah, middle of the day you can make them gobble.
Yeah.
I mean, screech works. I'm not gonna blow your mic out but doing that, but I mean that works. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people they use like a hawk call.
Okay.
That's different. I've never tried it, but most of the time when I'm hunting and I'm trying to strike a turkey, it's turkey calling.
Turkey calling.
Turkey calling. Yep, sound like a turkey.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we appreciate you. To our listeners, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you let us know, share it with a buddy, and we will see you on the next one.